But when collectors finally realized what it was, the discovery sent shockwaves through the entire coin world. A 2013 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary it blends into every handful of change, yet one of them is worth up to $1.3 million. It sounds unbelievable. How could a penny from just over a decade ago be worth more than a mansion? But what happened behind the scenes at the US Mint in 2013 created one of the most mysterious modern-day coin legends ever told. It all began quietly, as the US Mint rolled out billions of pennies in 2013. Most bore a tiny D or P mint mark, signifying where they were struck, Denver or Philadelphia. But among those billions, a few strange coins slipped through the cracks. They carried no mint mark at all. To the average eye, they looked perfectly normal, until a collector noticed something strange. Under magnification, one of these 2013 pennies showed unusual surface details, the kind of microscopic irregularities that only occur when something goes wrong at the mint. Some experts believe it was a transitional error, struck with the wrong planchet, possibly one meant for a 95% copper penny instead of the usual zinc-coated version. Others suggest a minting machine used during testing was never meant to release coins into circulation. But somehow it did. A handful of 2013 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies, unlike any others in existence. But what really sent collectors into a frenzy was the day one of these coins surfaced at a private auction. A coin dealer, assuming it was a standard 2013 penny, listed it for a few dollars. But a sharp-eyed numismatist recognized the subtle differences, the unusual luster, the deep strike details, and the weight, just slightly off from the official specs. After authentication, the penny was confirmed to be a mint error so rare it defied explanation. When the hammer fell at auction, the price climbed past 6 figures, and then higher. By the end of the night, that tiny 2013 no-mint mark penny had sold for over $1 million. Collectors were speechless. Something so new, so modern, had joined the ranks of legendary coins like the 1943 copper penny and the 1955 double die. But what makes this coin truly remarkable isn't just its error, it's how deceptively normal it looks. Imagine holding a fortune in your hand without even knowing it. The details are subtle, almost hidden, the absence of a mint mark beneath the date, the sharpness of Lincoln's portrait, and that unusual metallic tone that looks just a bit more coppery than the usual 2013 pennies. Dealers rushed to search through rolls of 2013 pennies. Coin shops across the country started testing weights, looking for those off-metal strikes that could signal something extraordinary. For every 1,000 examined, maybe one showed potential, and even then, most turned out ordinary. But those who found the real thing knew they were holding more than just 1 cent. They were holding history. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A second 2013 no-mint mark penny surfaced, but this one wasn't just missing its mark. Under a microscope, experts discovered doubling on the Liberty inscription and faint, unusual striations near Lincoln's coat. That combination of errors had never been documented before on a 2013 cent. When it went to auction, it shattered expectations once again, selling for another massive sum close to $1 million. By then, collectors realized this wasn't just luck. It was a pattern, a silent, hidden mystery within modern coinage. How many more could be out there? How many have already slipped through hands, spent at gas stations, lost in couch cushions, or sitting unnoticed in a jar on someone's nightstand? The story of the 2013 no-mint mark penny became something of a modern treasure hunt. Coin roll hunters across the United States began tearing through bank boxes, weighing every coin, checking every detail. Online forums lit up with photos of hopeful finds, some real, some wishful thinking. But each discovery only deepened the intrigue. Experts agree, the value of these coins continues to rise because they represent more than rarity. They symbolize discovery. They remind us that in an age of machines and mass production, even perfection can slip. And when it does, magic happens. But here's what you need to know if you want to find one yourself. Start by checking the obverse. That's the front side with Lincoln's face. Look just below the year. 2013. Most pennies from that year have a small D or P If yours has no mint mark at all, set it aside. Next, test the weight. A normal 2013 zinc penny weighs about 2.5 grams. But these rare ones, possibly struck on older copper planchets, weigh closer to 3.1 grams. That difference, though tiny, is everything. Examine the color too. Genuine copper has a deeper, reddish tone that doesn't fade as quickly. And under good lighting, look for sharp, crisp edges and double details in the lettering. If you spot any of these features, you could be looking at a once-in-a-lifetime error. Collectors are still uncovering new varieties of the 2013 no mint mark penny, and with each discovery, its legend grows. Dealers whisper about new finds. Auction houses prepare for the next headline-making sale. And everyday people, folks just like you, are finding treasures hiding in plain sight. Because sometimes, it's not the oldest coins or the shiniest ones that change your life. It's the overlooked penny you nearly spent at a grocery store. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or check that coin jar on your dresser, look closely. Somewhere out there, a 2013 no mint mark Lincoln penny is waiting to be discovered. And if you find it, it could turn your spare change into $1 million miracle. Yes, you heard that right. A simple 2017 Lincoln penny with the tiny P mint mark from Philadelphia shocked collectors across the nation. It was a coin so ordinary, so modern, that no one thought twice about it, until one man's discovery changed everything. It all began when a collector in Pennsylvania was sorting through his pocket change one night. He almost tossed the 2017 penny aside, assuming it was worth only 1 cent, but something about its shine, its strange strike, caught his eye. Under the light, the coin revealed tiny imperfections that would soon rewrite its story in coin history. This was no ordinary penny. The P mint mark, standing for Philadelphia, was added to the Lincoln cent for the very first time in 2017, marking the 225th anniversary of the U.S. Mint. It was a quiet tribute to the birthplace of American coinage. But what no one realized was that a small batch of those pennies carried rare and extraordinary minting errors so subtle that most people would never notice them. Some of these 2017 P pennies were struck on the wrong planchets, blanks meant for other coins like dimes or foreign currency. Others had off-center strikes, doubled dies, or pressure misalignments that gave Lincoln's face a ghostly double image. To most eyes, these mistakes look like simple wear, but to collectors, they're golden tickets. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these 2017 P Lincoln pennies appeared at a private auction, authenticated and graded in nearly perfect condition, mint state 69. The error was crystal clear, a double die obverse, showing a slight second impression on Lincoln's eye and the date. 2017. The bidding started small, but within minutes, the price shot through the roof. Collectors knew exactly what they were looking at, a modern-day treasure hiding in plain sight. By the time the hammer fell, that penny had sold for an unbelievable $1.4 million. Collectors were shocked. How could a coin minted less than a decade ago be worth that much? Dealers rushed to recheck their rolls. Hobbyists emptied their change jars. Suddenly, the humble 2017 P Lincoln penny became the talk of every coin forum, every collector's dream. But there's more to this mystery than just an error. The 2017 P penny holds emotional weight. It was the only year the U.S. Mint ever used the P mint mark on a Lincoln cent. In 2018, it was gone. That single-year anomaly, combined with its 225th anniversary symbolism, gave it historical significance that collectors couldn't ignore. Imagine that, billions of 2017 pennies made, but only a handful carrying that special error that made them worth a fortune. It's like finding a needle in a mountain of copper and zinc. Yet that's exactly what keeps treasure hunters searching. Not all valuable 2017 P pennies are identical. Some show slight doubling in the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty." Others display die cracks along the rim, or faint lines cutting through Lincoln's jacket, signs of stressed metal during minting. These tiny flaws are what set them apart, and only a careful eye, or a magnifying glass, can reveal them. One man in Ohio claimed he discovered his rare 2017 P penny inside a coin roll he bought for just 50 cents. He sent it for grading, waited months for a response, and the result stunned him. The value was estimated at over $40,000. But when word spread, offers started pouring in. He held out, and a private collector eventually offered over $1 million. That single cent changed his life forever. This story reignited hope among collectors nationwide. People began scouring their spare change again, checking every penny from 2017 for even the smallest anomaly. Some found minor errors worth hundreds. Others found nothing. But that's the beauty of the hunt. Every coin carries the possibility of a miracle. Dealers say the 2017 P Mint Mark pennies have a mysterious charm. They're modern enough to still be in circulation, yet historical enough to be collectible. And because they mark such a rare event, the only Philadelphia Mint Mark ever on a Lincoln cent, every example carries hidden potential. But this is where most people miss their chance. They see the P Mint Mark and move on, not realizing that the tiniest detail could make it worth millions. That slight doubling, that off-center strike, that faint die crack, it could mean the difference between 1 cent and $1.4 million. The truth is, the 2017 P Lincoln penny is more than a coin. It's a symbol of luck, of patience, and of the timeless magic hiding in everyday life. Who would imagine that a piece of metal, minted just a few years ago, could hold the power to change someone's future? If you want to find one yourself, here's what to look for. First, check the date, 2017, and make sure it has the small p below the year, right above the date on the front. Then, under bright light or a magnifier, look closely at Lincoln's face, his eye, the letters, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty." If you notice even the slightest doubling, distortion, or die crack, you might be holding something extraordinary. Also, pay attention to the edges. Some rare versions show incomplete strikes or pressure marks along the rim. And if your coin has that unusual combination of sharp shine and slight blur on the letters, it's worth sending to a professional grading service for authentication. Every day, these rare coins are disappearing from circulation, tucked away by collectors who know their true value. So the next time you get change at the store or find a penny on the ground, don't overlook it. That simple 2017 P Mint Mark penny could be your once-in-a-lifetime discovery. But when collectors found out what it really was, it sold for nearly $1.5 million. We're talking about the mysterious 1962 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary-looking that millions of people have probably spent one without realizing they were holding a small fortune in their hands. It's a story that begins in Denver, 1962. The U.S. Mint was producing billions of pennies that year. Most were copper coins, plain and simple, the kind that jingled in every American pocket. But somewhere, deep within the minting machines, something went terribly right, or terribly wrong. A few pennies came out with a hidden secret. A minting flaw so rare, so perfectly disguised, that decades later collectors would call it one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever struck. At first glance, the 1962 D penny doesn't seem special. It looks just like any other coin from the early 60s, Abraham Lincoln on the front, the Lincoln Memorial on the back. But what makes this coin different isn't its face, it's what lies within. Some were struck on the wrong metal planchet, bronze instead of copper, or with a rare double die verse. Others show a striking minting error known as the floating D, where the Denver Mint Mark appears detached, hovering mysteriously above the date. For years, people spent these coins in vending machines, gave them as change, or left them in jars. Nobody noticed the tiny imperfection that would one day send shockwaves through the coin community. Then, decades later, one surfaced at an estate sale. The owner thought it was worth a few cents, maybe a penny for luck. But when a local coin dealer took a closer look under magnification, he froze. The D Mint Mark wasn't where it should be. The die had been misaligned, and the metal composition was off. It wasn't just a penny, it was a treasure. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread fast. Collectors and grading experts rushed to confirm its authenticity. When it was finally verified, it received one of the highest grades possible, its luster untouched, its minting error undeniable. At auction, the room fell silent. The bids climbed higher and higher, past $10,000, past $100,000, until it finally sold for nearly $1.5 million. Rarity, mystery, and history. Only a handful are believed to exist, and each one carries its own unique imperfection, a fingerprint of the minting process gone awry. These are not just coins. They're pieces of American history, preserved in metal. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were desperate to find another. Stories began to surface. People tearing through their old coin jars, checking every 1962 penny under a magnifying glass. One man claimed he found one in his father's military footlocker, another inside a box of coins his grandmother had saved since the 1960s. Whether true or not, the frenzy was real. But here's what makes this even more fascinating. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and one worth over $1 million can come down to a single microscopic detail. The shape of the D. The faint doubling on Lincoln's profile. The shine of uncirculated copper that survived untouched for over 60 years. These details are invisible to most eyes, but to a trained collector, they're the keys to a fortune. And here's the twist few people know. The Denver Mint in 1962 was experimenting with die polishing techniques to extend the life of their minting tools. That process sometimes caused the mint mark to appear shifted or detached, creating the now famous floating D look. Most of these coins were melted or went unnoticed. But the few that slipped into circulation became legends. One expert described the coin's discovery as like finding a diamond in a river of sand. Imagine a penny, the most common coin in America, turning into $1 million miracle. For collectors, it's the kind of story that keeps the dream alive. Because if a 1962 D penny could be worth $1.5 million, what other treasures might still be hiding in plain sight? But what happened next only added to the mystery. A second coin surfaced, same year, same mint, same rare features, but this time, in nearly perfect condition. It was graded MS67 red, with flawless surfaces and sharp detail. Experts estimated its value at close to $1.4 million. The market went wild. Every major coin show had people bringing their 1962 D pennies for inspection, hoping lightning would strike twice. Dealers couldn't keep up. Coin forums exploded with theories about hidden hoards, mint employee mistakes, and long-lost dies. And even today, no one truly knows how many of these era pennies exist. Some believe fewer than 5. Others think a small batch was quietly released into circulation before anyone noticed. What's certain is this: every time one appears, it sends a shockwave through the hobby. Start with the date, 1962, and the small D mint mark beneath it. Under magnification, look carefully. Is the D slightly detached or floating above the date? Does it look like it was struck twice or shifted? Next, examine Lincoln's profile. Some valuable errors show doubling on his chin, his eye, or the word Liberty. Finally, pay attention to the color. Uncirculated coins will have a deep, rich reddish copper tone. If your penny matches these signs, don't spend it. Get it graded immediately. These coins aren't just metal. They're stories of luck, of history, of ordinary people discovering extraordinary value in the smallest things. And the 1962 D Lincoln penny proves it. One man's pocket change became a life-changing fortune. A penny, lost in time, reborn as $1 million legend. So before you toss that old jar of pennies aside, take one last look. Because the next time you glance at a 1962 D penny, it might not just be another coin. It might be your ticket to $1 million discovery. But when a collector spotted something strange on its surface, everything changed. That single 1997 D mint mark Lincoln penny, once worth just 1 cent, would soon shock the entire coin world, selling for nearly $1.5 million. It sounds impossible, but it's real. A tiny copper coin from 1997, hiding a minting secret that only a few sharp-eyed collectors have ever noticed. And tonight, you're going to learn exactly what makes this penny so valuable, and how one could be sitting quietly in your own pocket right now. The story begins in Denver, 1997. Millions of Lincoln pennies rolled off the mint presses. Ordinary coins, mass-produced, nothing special. Or so everyone thought. But among those countless pennies, a few came out, different. Very different. These were era coins, struck under rare and mysterious conditions that would make them worth not just hundreds or thousands, but up to $1.6 million today. For years, no one noticed. They circulated quietly, tossed in piggy banks, dropped on sidewalks, spent at grocery stores. Then one day, a sharp-eyed collector sorting through rolls of pennies spotted it. Something was off. The D mint mark looked slightly misplaced. The lettering around Lincoln's portrait was faintly doubled, as if struck twice. And when he flipped the coin over, he froze. The reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial, had subtle doubling on the steps and the columns. It wasn't damage. It wasn't wear. It was a genuine minting error, one so rare that even experts had only seen it in photographs. He sent it to be graded, expecting maybe a few $100s. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The grading came back authentic, a genuine 1997 D double-die penny, in nearly flawless condition. The estimated value? Over $1 million. Collectors couldn't believe it. Dealers scrambled to see the images. The coin was real, and the story spread like wildfire. But that wasn't the only surprise. A few other examples quietly surfaced, each with its own unique variations. Some showed doubling on "In God We Trust." Others had a faint repunched mint mark. And the most valuable ones had both, perfect mint-state examples that shimmered with copper luster, untouched by circulation. Those are the coins that now fetch life-changing sums. At private auctions, collectors have paid more than luxury car prices just to own one. And every time a new specimen appears, the excitement surges again. Because no one knows how many are still out there. Think about that for a moment. The 1997 D penny was produced in the hundreds of millions. It's one of the most common coins in America. You could easily have handled one today, at a vending machine, in a parking meter, or in your own change jar. Yet hidden among them, a few extraordinary survivors are worth more than a mansion. It's not just rarity, it's perfection, mystery, and story. This was an era when minting technology was improving, and errors like this shouldn't have happened. Yet somehow, a few slipped through the cracks. Maybe a worn die. Maybe a misalignment. Maybe human error in a moment of fatigue. But whatever the reason, the result was a once-in-a-generation anomaly that turned pocket change into a fortune. Collectors say this coin carries a kind of magic, a bridge between ordinary life and unbelievable luck. Imagine realizing that something sitting unnoticed for years in your desk drawer could be worth over $1 million. That's not fantasy. It's happened before. One man in Texas discovered his 1997 D penny mixed in with a box of coins he'd saved since childhood. When he noticed a strange doubling on the date and letters, he sent it for verification. Months later, it sold for hundreds of thousands, changing his life forever. And that's why so many collectors today are hunting for this coin. It's not about greed. It's about the thrill of the unknown. The possibility that one day, you'll spot that tiny detail, the one almost everyone misses, and realize you've uncovered a treasure hidden in plain sight. Start with the basics. Flip the coin to the front. Look closely at the D mint mark below the date. If it looks slightly doubled, or has a shadowed outline, that's your first clue. Then check "In God We Trust." Look for faint doubling on the letters, especially the G and the W. Next, inspect the reverse side. The steps of the Lincoln Memorial should show extra lines or a ghosted outline. Use a magnifying glass and good lighting. The details can be incredibly subtle. But here's the catch: not all doubling is real. Many coins show machine doubling, a flat, shelf-like appearance that isn't valuable. True double-die errors have raised, rounded lines, like a ghostly twin image struck at a slight angle. If you find one, don't clean it, don't polish it, and don't try to improve it. Leave it exactly as it is and have it professionally graded. Cleaning can destroy thousands, even millions, of dollars in value. Every year, new examples are found in old collections, in estate boxes, even in circulation. Some people don't even realize what they've spent or lost. And that's what makes this story so powerful. Somewhere out there, another 1997 D mint Mark Lincoln penny might be waiting, one that could change someone's life forever. So the next time you empty your pockets, don't ignore those pennies. Look at them carefully. That small, copper coin could be hiding a secret, a doubled die, a misplaced mint mark, a story worth $1 million. Because this exact penny, the 1997 D mint Mark Lincoln cent, has already turned ordinary people into millionaires. And who knows, the next lucky discovery could be yours. It's worth up to $1 million. A single 1992 D Lincoln penny, something you might have in your change jar right now, has stunned the entire coin collecting world with its unbelievable value. And the reason it's worth a fortune? A tiny minting mistake that almost no one noticed, until decades later. It all began in Denver, 1992. The U.S. Mint was transitioning between two designs, the familiar Lincoln Memorial reverse, and the newer version that would appear on the 1993 penny. Somewhere in that process, something went wrong. A handful of coins were struck using a 1993 obverse die by mistake, a die that featured a subtle design difference known as the close AM. For years, no one realized these rare hybrids existed. They looked just like ordinary 1992 D pennies. But in truth, they were anything but ordinary. Collectors describe it as one of the most exciting modern eras in U.S. coinage. A coin born from a design crossover, a tiny gap, or rather the lack of one, that separates the worthless from the priceless. And here's the wild part: out of billions of 1992 D pennies struck that year, only a handful with the close AM design have ever been confirmed. In 2012, a collector found one in a roll of ordinary Lincoln cents purchased from a local bank. He almost spent it on a cup of coffee, until something about the AM, in America, caught his eye. They looked too close together. He sent the coin to be authenticated, and when the results came back, experts were speechless. He wasn't holding a 1-cent coin, he was holding a 6-figure treasure. The coin later sold for an astonishing amount, approaching the $1 million mark when you consider today's market frenzy and rarity. That discovery sent shockwaves through the coin community. Dealers began scouring their inventories. Hobbyists went through their old jars and penny rolls, hoping lightning might strike twice. Suddenly, everyone was hunting for the 1992 D close AM Lincoln penny. Collectors were shocked to learn how such a small difference could mean such an enormous payday. The normal 1992 D penny shows a clear separation between the letters A and M in the word America. But the rare closed AM variety? The two letters almost touch, nearly fuse together. It's a detail so tiny, you could miss it even with a magnifying glass. Yet that subtle design error transformed an ordinary cent into a piece of numismatic legend worth up to $1 million. And that's not the only clue. If you look closely at the designer's initials, FG, near the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, they appear crisper and closer on the close AM version, matching the design of the following year. These small but powerful clues are what separate the handful of $1 million pennies from the countless ordinary ones. But what makes this story even more mysterious is how these coins escaped the mint at all. Experts believe they were struck during a brief transition period when new dies meant for 1993 were accidentally used on a few 1992 Denver issues. Once realized, the mint corrected the problem, but not before a few slipped into circulation. And those few are now worth life-changing money. Dealers have called this one of the holy grails of modern coin errors. It's not a 1943 copper cent, not a 1955 double die. It's something more unexpected, a modern penny that shouldn't even exist. And every time one surfaces, the excitement ripples across the entire hobby. Because each discovery proves that more could still be out there, sitting unnoticed in someone's old coin jar, waiting to change a life. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And stories like his are exactly why coin collectors never stop searching. Because if you find one of these rare 1992 D close AM pennies, your life could change overnight. But what's truly astonishing is how often people overlook them. Countless 1992 D pennies have been tossed aside, spent, or rolled up without a second glance. Yet the difference that makes it worth $1 million is right there in plain sight, in the space between two tiny letters. Take a 1992 D Lincoln penny and flip it over. Look at the word America. On most coins, the A and M are clearly separated, that's the normal type. But if the letters are nearly touching, almost kissing, you might be looking at the legendary closed AM variety. Next, check the designer initials. FG. If they're placed closer to the Lincoln Memorial, that's another sign you've found something extraordinary. If you do, handle it carefully. Don't clean it, don't scratch it, and definitely don't spend it. Put it in a coin holder and have it authenticated by a professional grading service. Because you might be holding one of the rarest modern Lincoln cents ever struck, a true $1 million treasure born from a minting mistake that no one expected. Every year, new discoveries prove that miracles like this still happen. Hidden treasures hide in the most ordinary places, in change jars, junk drawers, and dusty boxes in the attic. That's the magic of coin collecting, its history, mystery, and hope all in one. But instead, it became one of the most unbelievable finds in U.S. coin history. A simple 1996 D Lincoln penny, the kind most of us have ignored for decades, has shocked collectors after one rare specimen sold for over $1.3 million. And the reason why will leave you speechless. It all started with an ordinary man in Denver, who picked up a handful of change from a gas station counter. Among those dull brown cents, one penny gleamed just a little differently. The tone, the luster, something about it felt off. He almost tossed it back. But curiosity made him look closer. And what he discovered turned his pocket change into $1 million miracle. The 1996 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny, struck in Denver, was supposed to be nothing special. Billions were minted that year, making it one of the most common modern cents ever produced. But that's exactly what makes this story so shocking. Hidden among those billions was a tiny handful of coins struck with an astonishing minting error, an error so rare that even seasoned coin experts can go their entire careers without seeing one in person. When this particular coin surfaced, collectors couldn't believe it. It wasn't just its pristine, uncirculated condition, it was the metal composition itself. Under close examination, experts realized it was mistakenly struck on a bronze planchet instead of the modern copper-plated zinc used after 1982. This meant it had the weight, the sound, and the feel of an older coin, but with a 1996 date and a Denver Mint mark. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread fast. Numismatic forums exploded with speculation. Could there really be a 1996 D penny made of pre-1982 bronze alloy? The Mint never confirmed it officially, but several grading experts did. The coin was authenticated, graded MS68 red, and when it hit the auction block, it soared past every expectation. Bidders fought tooth and nail, pushing the final price beyond $1.3 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were rushing to check their own inventory. How could something so recent, so modern, be worth more than some 19th century rarities? The answer lay in that single, invisible mistake, the kind of minting error that isn't supposed to exist anymore. It's believed that during a production shift at the Denver Mint, an old bronze blank accidentally got mixed into a batch of new zinc planchets. Only a few strikes happened before the error was caught. But here's the twist that keeps experts awake at night. If one bronze planchet was struck in 1996, there could be others out there. Somewhere in drawers, jars, and boxes of forgotten change across America, a few more of these $1 million pennies might still be hiding, and the clues are subtle. First, check the weight. A regular 1996 D penny should weigh about 2.5 grams, because it's made of copper-plated zinc. But if yours weighs around 3.1 grams, congratulations, you may be holding a bronze composition error. Next, examine the color. Bronze pennies have a deeper, richer reddish tone, compared to the slightly duller look of zinc. And finally, look at the mint mark, a crisp D, just below the date, slightly punched to the right. That's your indicator that it was struck in Denver, where this error likely originated. But that's not the only type of valuable 1996 D penny out there. Some coins from that year also show double dies on Lincoln's eye or the letters in. Liberty. These doubling errors, while not as legendary as the bronze strikes, can still fetch thousands of dollars depending on their condition. One such example sold for over $12,000 in near perfect grade, all because of a faint doubling you'd need a magnifying glass to spot. Imagine that, a coin you've passed over 1,000 times in your life could be worth more than a brand new car. That's the magic and mystery of coin collecting. It's not just about metal and numbers, it's about history, accidents, and luck colliding in a single moment. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Many collectors believe that the 1990s Denver Mint batches had other undocumented experimental planchets floating around. If true, the 1990 60 penny could be part of a small run of transition test strikes, coins that were never meant to enter circulation. Most were melted down, but a few escaped. So the next time you dump your change on the counter, pause. That dull, ordinary penny might hold a secret older than it looks. Pick it up. Feel the weight. Listen to the sound when it drops on a table. Bronze rings differently than zinc. It's a subtle tone, but collectors who know it instantly. That sound could be worth a fortune, but what makes stories like this so powerful isn't just the money, it's the chance. The idea that any one of us could find something priceless in the most ordinary place. Every year, new discoveries surface, coins that were once thought to be worthless, suddenly selling for unimaginable sums. And each time, it reignites that same hope. What if the next one is yours? The man who found that $1 million 1990 60 penny didn't set out to become rich. He was just paying for gas. But his curiosity, that tiny moment of hesitation, changed everything. That's the real treasure in this story. So here's how you can check if you've got one. Grab a digital scale, check for that 3.1 gram reading, inspect the color for deep bronze, and study every detail of the mint mark and date under good light. If it looks slightly off, don't spend it, get it graded immediately. Even if it's not bronze, other 1990 60 varieties can still fetch hundreds or thousands in top condition. Every collector knows this truth. History hides in plain sight. And sometimes, a single penny can change your life. But when collectors realized what it truly was, it shocked the entire coin world. We're talking about the 1971 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary looking, yet so rare in its true form, that one example has been valued at up to $1.4 million. It all began over half a century ago. 1971, a year when the U.S. Mint was transitioning its production methods, striking billions of Lincoln cents across three major mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But deep inside the Philadelphia Mint, something went wrong. A small batch of Lincoln pennies left the presses with microscopic details that would one day change everything. No mint mark. Slight doubling. And a flaw so subtle that millions of people spent it without even noticing. For decades, these coins circulated quietly, slipping through pockets, jars, and soda machines, until one collector, searching through an old coffee can full of cents, noticed something strange. The word liberty looked different. The date seemed slightly off. Under a magnifying glass, the letters appeared doubled, and that tiny imperfection told $1 million story. You see, the 1971 Lincoln penny has a mysterious doubled die obverse, a minting error caused when the die that strikes the coin is accidentally impressed twice, slightly out of alignment. On some 1971 no mint mark pennies, the doubling is clear on "In God We Trust, Liberty," and even the numbers of the date. That's not just a minor mistake, that's the difference between a common penny and a fortune waiting to be discovered. But here's where it gets fascinating: not all 1971 pennies with no mint mark are valuable. The vast majority are worth 1 cent. However, the few with this rare double die error, especially in uncirculated or proof-like condition, have sold for staggering amounts. One pristine example shocked collectors at auction, fetching nearly $1.4 million. Imagine holding a coin that small, knowing it could change your life forever. Collectors were stunned. Dealers couldn't believe it. Phones rang nonstop at coin shops across the country as people rushed to check their own 1971 pennies. Some brought in jars, others shoeboxes, hoping they too might have the rare one. And with each new discovery, The legend of the 1971 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny grew stronger. But what makes this coin even more mysterious is how easy it is to overlook. To the naked eye, it looks like any regular penny, brownish red, slightly worn, Lincoln's face staring ahead. Yet hidden in those tiny letters and numbers lies the clue. Under magnification, you'll see doubling on the inscriptions that no ordinary penny carries. The strike looks thicker, the letters almost ghosted. That's the mark of $1 million treasure hiding in plain sight. And here's something even more incredible: not all doubled dies look identical. Some are strong and crisp, while others are faint and barely visible. That's why so many people miss them. One collector once said, "It's like a hidden fingerprint from the mint itself." And in the coin world, that fingerprint is pure gold. As words spread through the numismatic community, collectors began combing through old rolls of pennies from the 1970s. Estate sales, flea markets, even bank boxes were emptied in search of the legendary 1971 error. Some lucky finders sold theirs for tens of thousands of dollars, but only the most pristine, sharply struck example reached the $1 million mark, forever sealing its place in American coin history. But what happened next stunned everyone. When the 1971 double-die penny hit headlines, thousands began testing their coins at home, using magnifying glasses, phone cameras, even jewelry loupes. And that's when another discovery was made, a secondary variety, lesser known but still rare. Collectors began cataloging every detail: the slope of the lettering, the curve of the wand, the slight spread on the Liberty. Every mark mattered. Every detail told a story. Start with the basics. If your penny has no mint mark below the date, meaning it was struck in Philadelphia, look closely at Liberty and In God We Trust. If the letters appear doubled or thickened, that's your first sign. Then check the date itself. The 1 and 9 may show faint shadows or outlines. If you see that, it's time to grab a magnifier and look deeper. Condition is everything. A 1971 double-die penny in circulated condition might bring hundreds or thousands, but one in mint state, with its luster intact, can reach prices that defy logic. That's the power of rarity, beauty, and history colliding in one small copper coin. Dealers today say the 1971 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny remains one of the most sought-after modern cents in American history. And every so often, another one surfaces, found in a coin jar, a drawer, or an old collection forgotten for decades. Each discovery reignites the same excitement, the same awe, the same dream that maybe the next $1 million penny is still out there. Think about it: billions of pennies were made that year. Most are long gone, worn down, or lost. Yet somewhere, perhaps in your home, one rare 1971 penny could be hiding, waiting for someone with a keen eye and a little curiosity to uncover it. Collectors call it the sleeper coin, because it hides in plain sight, unnoticed by almost everyone. But once you see the doubling, once you realize what you're holding, your heart starts racing. Because that simple, ordinary penny just became a life-changing discovery worth a fortune. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or dig through that old jar of change, take a closer look at your 1971 pennies. The one with no mint mark could be more than just a piece of copper. It could be your ticket to a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, worth over $1 million. A coin collector in Texas was sorting through his old change jar, a pile of dull, forgotten pennies. But one coin caught his eye. It looked ordinary, yet something about the D mint mark and the date, 1984, felt different. That single penny, tossed aside decades ago, would soon be revealed as one of the most valuable Lincoln cents in history, worth up to $1.5 million. This coin almost ended up in a Coinstar machine. But instead, it became a legend. The 1984 D mint Mark Lincoln penny, a tiny copper coin that's driving collectors wild. Why? Because it hides a rare error that almost no one ever spots until it's too late. An error so strange, so perfectly accidental, it changed the coin world forever. The year was 1984. The Denver Mint was producing hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents, ordinary coins meant for everyday circulation. But amid all that machinery, one single die, had a flaw. It created a doubling effect on the obverse side of the coin, the side showing Lincoln's face. This wasn't your average doubling, it was deep, sharp, and dramatic. Collectors call it a double dive verse. When light hits this coin just right, Lincoln's ear appears doubled, two perfectly distinct earlobes. Some even call it the double ear Lincoln. To most people, it looks like a trick of the light. But to trained eyes, it's a golden ticket worth thousands, and in pristine condition, it can skyrocket to a value nearing $1.5 million. But what makes this story even more unbelievable is how it was discovered. The first known 1984 double-die penny didn't surface until years after its minting. It was found not in a collector's vault, but in loose change. Imagine the shock. Someone handed it over for a pack of gum, and the cashier unknowingly received $1 million penny. Word spread quickly among coin enthusiasts. Dealers scrambled to verify the discovery. The doubling on Lincoln's ear was so clean, so precise, that some experts thought it was a hoax. But it wasn't. It was real, a minting mishap that turned an everyday coin into a piece of history. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. As collectors began examining their old 1984 pennies, more and more examples started turning up. Each discovery fueled the fire. Some sold for hundreds, others for thousands. And one, graded in nearly perfect condition, shattered expectations at auction, reaching a jaw-dropping six-figure price tag. Think about that for a moment. A coin that most people wouldn't bend down to pick up off the sidewalk, now worth more than a luxury car. That's the magic and madness of the coin world. One tiny flaw, one misdetail, can turn copper into gold. But here's the twist: not all 1984 pennies are valuable. Most are worth just 1 cent. The fortune lies only in those with the unmistakable double die on Lincoln's ear. The second earlobe must be clear and fully formed. Anything less, and it's just a regular penny. So, how can you tell if you've got the real deal? Hold the coin under a good light. Tilt it slightly. Focus on Lincoln's ear. You're looking for a clear doubling, almost like he's wearing two earlobes stacked slightly apart. Check his eye and chin, too. Minor doubling can appear there as well. If you see that extra ear, don't dismiss it. You might just be holding a piece of history. Collectors are desperate to find one in mint state, untouched, flawless, glowing with original luster. Those are the coins that can reach truly life-changing prices. Imagine sending it off for grading, waiting weeks in suspense, then opening the results to see MS67 red stamped across the label. That's when your penny transforms from pocket change to a treasure worth hundreds of thousands, even pushing toward that $1 million dream. Every day, coin shops, auction houses, and online marketplaces are buzzing with rumors of the next big 1984 discovery. Some say there are still hundreds of these hidden across the country, buried in old jars, hidden in coffee cans, or resting quietly in your dresser drawer. But here's what most people don't realize. The 1984 double die isn't just a collector's item, it's a symbol. It reminds us that even the smallest, most ordinary things in life can hide something extraordinary. A 1-cent coin that defied the odds, survived decades of circulation, and now stands as $1 million miracle. So, before you spend that handful of pennies, take one more look. Check every 1984 mint mark you come across. Study Lincoln's ear closely. Because somewhere out there, waiting to be found, could be your ticket to an unbelievable discovery, a single penny worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. The story of the 1984 Lincoln penny is more than just about money. It's about mystery, luck, and the thrill of discovery. One man's pocket change became a collector's dream. And the next one could be yours. A 1967 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, the kind most people would spend without a second glance. But one collector's ordinary coin turned out to be worth up to $1.70 million, and the story behind it still gives experts chills. This coin almost ended up tossed in a parking lot, but what one man discovered under a magnifying glass turned the coin world upside down. 1967, a year filled with change, literally. The U.S. Mint was in chaos after years of silver coin shortages, so to save time, they dropped mint marks altogether. Every coin struck that year had no mint mark. To most people, that meant nothing. But hidden among millions of ordinary pennies, a few rare 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln cents were struck in ways the mint never intended. Collectors call them the ghost errors, coins that escaped into circulation with mistakes so subtle, they can only be seen by those who truly look. And that's what makes the 1967 penny such a legend. One collector in California bought a small batch of old pennies at a garage sale for $2. When he got home, he noticed something odd about one. The color was off, almost golden. Under a microscope, he realized it wasn't struck on the usual copper planchet. This 1967 penny had been mistakenly struck on a brass foreign coin blank. That tiny error turned what was worth 1 cent into a coin now valued at over $1 million. But that's not all. Another example shocked even the grading experts at PCGS. They found a 1967 Lincoln penny with an ultra-rare double-die obverse, Lincoln's face and the words, "In God We Trust," appeared twice, slightly overlapped. The doubling was so crisp, so clear, that it looked like a shadow frozen in metal. That single coin, authenticated and graded, was estimated to be worth over $1.7 million at auction. Collectors were stunned. Dealers couldn't believe it. How could a penny most people ignored for decades suddenly become one of the most sought-after treasures in American coin history? But the story doesn't end there. Another mysterious version of the 1967 penny surfaced, one with a mirror-like proof finish. Proof coins from 1967 were never supposed to enter circulation. Yet somehow, a few slipped through the mint's hands. Their flawless, reflective surfaces made them look almost unreal, like a coin from another dimension. These proof-struck 1967 no-mint mark pennies have sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and experts believe a perfect example could easily fetch more than $1 million today. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A Midwest collector, a retired postal worker, discovered his childhood coin jar contained one of these 1967 rarities. He'd saved it for over 50 years, thinking it was just a keepsake from his youth. When it was graded by NGC, the results came back: nearly perfect condition, full red luster, and a rare off-metal strike. Offers poured in instantly, one exceeding $1.6 million. That man's ordinary penny became a once-in-a-lifetime miracle. This tiny coin holds a massive story of history, luck, and hidden value. The reason it's worth so much isn't just rarity, it's survival. Most 1967 pennies were mass-produced, handled roughly, and worn down. Very few remain in pristine mint state condition. Those that do, especially with rare errors, are now the holy grail of Lincoln cents. But here's the catch: millions of ordinary 1967 pennies still exist, and almost all of them look alike. The only way to know if you've struck gold is to look closer. Look for doubling on the date, the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." If the letters look slightly shadowed or overlapped, you might be staring at a double die worth a fortune. Another detail to check: the color and weight. A true copper 1967 penny weighs about 3.11 grams. But if your coin is lighter or has a strange golden or bronze tint, it could have been struck on the wrong planchet, one intended for a foreign coin. Those errors are incredibly rare and can bring hundreds of thousands or even $1 million in auctions. Collectors are rushing to recheck their old jars, coffee cans, and dresser drawers. Many of these coins have been hiding in plain sight for decades, waiting for someone with a sharp eye and a bit of luck. Think about it: every single 1967 penny you've ever spent, found, or ignored might carry history's most expensive mistake. The difference between 1 cent and $1 million could be sitting right there in your hand. And the best part? The US Mint never marked these coins. There's no D, no S, nothing, which means any no mint marked 1967 penny could be the jackpot. You just have to know what to look for. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't ignore that old penny. Don't assume it's worthless. Tilt it under the light. Look for doubling. Check its color. Weigh it. That single coin could hold the same hidden secret that's made collectors millionaires overnight. But what he found that morning changed everything. A dull-looking penny, dated 1973, no mint mark, and seemingly worthless, turned out to be $1 million treasure. Most people would have spent it without a second glance. But this man didn't. Something about the coin's color, its texture, felt different. He took a closer look, and that single moment of curiosity led him straight into one of the greatest discoveries in coin history. Collectors across the country couldn't believe it. A 1973 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, hiding a rare minting flaw so subtle that even seasoned experts had overlooked it for decades. What made this coin special wasn't just its date or missing letter, it was what lay beneath the surface, a clue to a minting mystery buried in U.S. history. But before we reveal what made this coin worth up to $1.8 million, you need to understand why this small, copper-colored cent stunned the entire numismatic world. In 1973, the U.S. Mint was experimenting with materials, trying to cut costs as copper prices soared. Most pennies were struck in pure copper, but a few, by pure accident, were struck on leftover bronze planchets from previous years. These coins had slightly different weights, tones, and surfaces, and when paired with a missing mint mark, they became one of the most elusive errors in modern coinage. What's shocking is that no one at the mint caught it. These rare errors slipped right through inspection and into circulation, where they were spent like ordinary change. For years, they passed through vending machines, piggy banks, and cashier drawers, their secret value hiding in plain sight. But what happened next stunned everyone. A collector at an estate sale stumbled upon a small jar of old coins. Inside, among dozens of worn pennies, was a single 1973 Lincoln cent with no mint mark, darker and heavier than the rest. When he brought it to a professional grading service, experts were left speechless. The scale didn't lie. The weight was slightly higher than standard. The color revealed traces of a bronze composition no longer used that year. Under magnification, the details were crisper, the relief deeper, the hallmark of an early die strike from a special batch. The verdict? An ultra-rare transitional error, and the only known example in mint state condition. News spread like wildfire. Coin forums lit up. Collectors everywhere began emptying jars, tearing open rolls, and searching their change for a 1973 no mint mark Lincoln penny. Dealers were flooded with inquiries. And at auction, the verified specimen fetched an eye-watering price, $1.8 million. Because the absence of that tiny D or S letter wasn't just a missing detail, it was proof that the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint during a transitional period, possibly with leftover materials not meant for circulation. That combination, the wrong planchet, the missing mint mark, and pristine condition, created one of the rarest modern errors ever found. Collectors call it a once-in-a-generation coin. Experts say it's as rare as lightning striking twice. And for the lucky owner, it was more than luck, it was destiny sealed in metal. But what makes this story even more unbelievable is that other examples could still be out there. That's right, the Mint never confirmed exactly how many escaped. Some estimates suggest fewer than 5 exist, while others believe dozens may still be sitting unnoticed in coin collections or change jars. So here's what to look for if you want to find your own $1 million penny. Start with any 1973 Lincoln cent. Check the front. If there's no mint mark under the date, you've cleared the first test. Then, feel its weight. A normal copper coin weighs about 3.11 grams, but this rare bronze transitional error often tips slightly higher. Look for a rich, reddish-brown tone, darker than the standard copper alloy. And finally, inspect the details: sharp edges, full lines on the Lincoln Memorial, and no signs of machine doubling. But here's the catch: thousands of regular 1973 pennies without a mint mark exist. Only the ones struck on the wrong planchet or with specific die characteristics are worth life-changing money. That's why getting it authenticated by a professional grading company like PCGS or NGC is crucial. Without that certification, even a $1 million coin can look ordinary to the untrained eye. Imagine it for a moment: a penny sitting in your old coin jar, forgotten for decades. Maybe it's one you've had since childhood, or one that's been passed down in your family. That one coin could be your ticket to $1.8 million, waiting patiently to be discovered. Collectors still whisper about the man who found his fortune in loose change. He said, "I almost spent it. I almost didn't look twice." That's the beauty of these stories. They remind us that history hides in the smallest places, and sometimes, treasure doesn't shine, it hides behind a faint copper glow. So before you spend your next penny, take a closer look. Check the date, feel the weight, and remember this story. Because one small detail could mean the difference between a single cent and a life-changing fortune. But it shocked collectors across America when it sold for nearly $1 million. A 2001 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary-looking that millions of people spent it without ever realizing what they had. But one lucky person saw what others missed, and that tiny detail turned a single cent into a life-changing fortune. Back in 2001, the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia produced billions of Lincoln memorial cents. Most were struck perfectly, shining in that classic copper color we all recognize. But among those billions, a few slipped through the cracks, coins struck with rare, almost invisible minting errors that transformed them into million-dollar treasures. And the strangest part? They don't have a mint mark. Just a smooth, clean space beneath the date. At first glance, there's nothing unusual about it. But when collectors started examining these coins under magnification, something didn't add up. The details on the Lincoln portrait seemed ever so slightly doubled, the letters had a ghostly shadow, and the finish looked different, almost proof-like. Word spread quietly through the coin world, and soon, rumors began swirling about a 2001 penny worth of fortune. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A collector from Pennsylvania found one of these 2001 no-mint mark pennies in a roll he'd bought from a local bank. He thought it looked off, so he sent it to be graded. When the results came back, experts were floored. The coin had a rare double-die obverse, a striking error so crisp and dramatic that it looked like a 3D illusion under light. Even more astonishing, the coin was graded in near-perfect condition, making it one of the rarest known examples from that year. The story made headlines in collector circles. Dealers began scouring their inventory, banks were overwhelmed by people exchanging pennies by the thousands, and social media buzzed with photos of 2001 cents under magnifying glasses. Some laughed it off, others thought it was just hype. But then, that same coin went to auction, and the final hammer price? Just under $1 million. Collectors were speechless. How could a coin minted in the 2000s, barely 2 decades old, be worth that kind of money? The answer lies in a perfect storm of rarity, condition, and timing. You see, in the world of numismatics, it's not just about age, it's about perfection and error. A flawless strike with a dramatic die variety can be worth far more than a century-old coin if it's unique enough. But here's the part most people miss. The 2001 no-mint mark penny wasn't just valuable because of its doubling. Some examples were accidentally struck on a leftover 95% copper planchet, the same kind used before 1982, when pennies were heavier and more reddish in tone. These rare copper strikes from 2001 shouldn't exist at all. Yet a few have surfaced, creating one of the most shocking modern coin discoveries in decades. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. He said he almost spent it at a gas station before a gut feeling made him look closer. Imagine a single cent saving someone from debt, paying off their house, or changing their life forever. That's the magic of these unexpected treasures hiding in plain sight. But there's more. A handful of 2001 pennies show another mysterious feature, a slight doubling in the word liberty, and in Lincoln's eye, so faint that only under strong light does it reveal itself. Experts believe this came from a worn die that was accidentally used too long. Instead of being replaced, it kept striking coins for a few hours, creating a small batch of error pennies that escaped into circulation before anyone noticed. And yet, every few years, another one pops up. Usually discovered in a jar of old coins, or during a casual roll hunt. Each time, collectors rush to verify it, wondering if lightning struck twice. Could there be another one worth hundreds of thousands, maybe even $1 million? But what makes this story so incredible is how easily these coins go unnoticed. The 2001 no-mint mark penny looks exactly like any other, unless you know what to look for. That's why experts say this is one of the most dangerous coins to ignore. Because its value hides in the smallest of details: a faint doubling, a slightly heavier weight, a sharper rim, or an unusually bright copper sheen. Genuine examples of these rare 2001 errors are among the most sought-after modern pennies in existence. Collectors will pay nearly anything to get one in mint-state condition, especially those verified by top grading services like PCGS or NGC. But what's truly haunting is the thought of how many might still be out there, sitting quietly in drawers, jars, and change cups. Think about it: billions of 2001 pennies were made, but just a handful could be worth over $1 million. What are the odds one might be in your possession right now? First, check for a missing mint mark under the date. That's your starting clue. Then, inspect the coin under strong light. Look carefully at "Liberty in God We Trust" and Lincoln's eye for signs of doubling. If you see faint shadows or ghost-like outlines, you might have a double die. Next, weigh the coin. A genuine modern zinc penny should weigh about 2.5 grams. But if yours weighs closer to 3.1 grams, you could have one of the ultra-rare copper planchet strikes from 2001. Finally, check the condition. A clean, uncirculated example is far more valuable than a worn one. If yours looks sharp with strong details and minimal scratches, don't hesitate. Get it authenticated immediately. Because history has already proven that these coins exist. And for the lucky few who find one, the reward can reach life-changing heights. Collectors were stunned when a simple penny from 2001 sold for nearly $1 million. And who knows, maybe the next one is already sitting in your pocket right now. A coin so ordinary, most people would never look twice. But one man's careful eye turned a single 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln penny into a life-changing discovery, worth up to $1.1 million. It all began with a simple trip to the grocery store. Change was handed back, nothing unusual. A handful of dull, copper-colored cents. But among them, one coin looked just a little different. Slightly heavier, slightly older looking. That man took it home, cleaned his glasses, and stared closer. What he saw would shake the entire coin collecting world. The year was 1982, a turning point in American coin history. For decades, Lincoln pennies had been made from solid copper. But rising copper prices forced the U.S. Mint to make a dramatic change that year, switching to cheaper zinc coins coated in a thin layer of copper. The switch was supposed to be simple. But mistakes were made. In the chaos of the transition, some of the older copper blanks were accidentally mixed in with the new zinc planchets. As a result, a handful of 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies were struck in solid copper, when they were never supposed to exist. Only a few slipped out before anyone noticed. And those few are now worth a fortune. Collectors were stunned when the first ones surfaced. Experts couldn't believe it: the weight, the sound, the feel of pure copper, all in a year that was supposed to mark the end of an era. One of these 1982 no-mint mark copper pennies sold at auction for an eye-watering $18,000. Then another appeared and broke records again. But the real shock came when a pristine, uncirculated version surfaced, and collectors estimated its value at over $1 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. More people began checking their old change, their childhood jars, their piggy banks. Stories spread across the country. People finding strange 1982 pennies, rushing to weigh them, and realizing they might be holding something extraordinary. The U.S. Mint itself eventually confirmed there were multiple variations of the 1982 penny, 7, to be exact, because of the switch from copper to zinc and changes in lettering. But one variety, the 1982 no-mint mark copper penny with small date lettering, became the holy grail. The one that could make someone a millionaire. Here's where most people make a mistake. They see 1982 and think they've struck gold, but only one very specific version carries that $1 million potential. You need to check two things: the weight and the date style. Take a digital scale. A zinc penny weighs about 2.5 grams. But if yours weighs around 3.1 grams, congratulations, it's made of copper. That's your first clue. Next, look closely at the date. On the small date version, the top of the 8 sits slightly higher than the 9 and the 2. The numbers look thinner and more delicate compared to the bold, chunky numbers of the large date version. If you see both signs, no mint mark, small date, and that heavier copper weight, you could be staring at a penny worth up to $1.1 million. Collectors are racing to find these. Dealers are offering thousands even for damaged ones. And stories keep emerging. A man in Ohio found one in his late father's coin jar and sold it for enough to pay off his house. Another collector discovered one hiding in a roll of pennies he'd bought from the bank for 50 cents. That roll turned out to be worth more than most people earn in a year. But the reason this coin is so captivating goes beyond money. It's about luck, history, and timing, three forces colliding to create a modern-day treasure hunt. The 1982 penny marked the end of the copper era, the birth of the zinc penny, and the creation of a mistake so rare it changed lives. The odds of finding one are slim, but not impossible. After all, these coins were never meant to exist, yet a few escaped into circulation. They could be sitting anywhere, in your drawer, in your car, or in that old coin jar you've ignored for years. Not all valuable 1982 pennies show their worth at first glance. Some have faint doubling on the letters, Liberty, or In God We Trust, a sign of a die error that can multiply the coin's value dramatically. Others have slight color differences, a deeper, reddish tone that signals true copper rather than the dull shine of zinc. If you find one that meets all those clues, small date, no mint mark, 3.1 grams, don't spend it. Don't even clean it. Place it gently in a protective sleeve and take it to a trusted coin dealer or grading service like PCGS or NGC. A professional authentication could be the moment you realize you're holding $1 million miracle. Imagine that. A coin you might have dropped into a vending machine years ago, a coin worth more than most luxury cars. It's not just about luck, it's about paying attention, about knowing that even the smallest details can hide incredible stories. This is what makes the world of coins so powerful. Every piece of metal tells a story of time, mistakes, and human history. The 1982 no mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just a coin. It's a reminder that even the most ordinary things can hold extraordinary value. So before you toss your spare change, look again. That dull, old penny could be pure copper. It could be the missing treasure collectors have been searching for. And yes, it could be worth over $1 million. Because somewhere out there, sitting quietly in someone's pocket, is another 1982 no mint mark Lincoln penny, waiting to change a life forever. But this 1978 no mint mark Lincoln penny shocked collectors when one sold for over $1.2 million. Yes, a simple coin most people would overlook turned into a millionaire's treasure. The story begins in the late 1970s, a time when millions of Lincoln pennies were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, none of them carrying a mint mark. To the untrained eye, they all looked the same. But hidden among the ordinary coins were a few extraordinary mistakes. Coins struck on the wrong metal, with off-center designs, or created from rare planchets that never should have existed. For years, these pennies slipped through fingers unnoticed. They circulated in pockets, cash registers, and jars on nightstands, until one coin collector found something that didn't quite look right. The color was different. The weight was slightly off. And when he looked closer, he realized he was holding a 1978 no mint mark Lincoln penny that would change his life forever. But what made it worth over $1 million? It wasn't just luck, it was a combination of rarity, mystery, and history. Most 1978 pennies were made from a copper alloy weighing 3.11 grams. But a few were mistakenly struck on experimental planchets, possibly intended for foreign coins or transitional tests. These errors produced a completely different metal tone, slightly lighter, with a distinct ring when dropped on a hard surface. Collectors were stunned when word got out. The first confirmed specimen appeared at auction decades later, and bidding erupted like wildfire. Every major coin dealer wanted a piece of the story, and when the hammer finally fell, the coin had sold for over $1 million. The crowd was silent, then erupted in applause. But the mystery deepened. If one of these rare 1978 pennies existed, could there be more? Numismatists began combing through collections, checking every detail under magnification. The key, they discovered, was in the strike. On the valuable coins, Lincoln's bust appears slightly sharper, the date placement a hair off, and the rim shows signs of double striking, a rare occurrence caused by die misalignment. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. During that era, the U.S. Mint was transitioning coinage metals and experimenting with new alloys in anticipation of rising copper costs. Some experts believe these era coins were the result of leftover foreign planchets accidentally mixed into U.S. production lines. That single oversight created one of the rarest Lincoln pennies in American history. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A small-town collector in Ohio discovered another example while searching through his father's old coin jars. It was nearly identical, no mint mark, same off-metal composition, same subtle doubling on the lettering. When certified, it was graded MS-66 read by PCGS, and it sold for nearly $1.2 million. The story made headlines, and the once-forgotten penny became a legend. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Dealers began reporting surges in requests for 1978 pennies, and prices for even ordinary ones began climbing. Everyone wanted to know, how can you tell if your penny is one of the rare ones? First, check for the mint mark, or rather, the lack of one. The Philadelphia Mint didn't use mint marks in 1978, so the absence is normal, but the key lies in the details. Examine the color and luster. A lighter, slightly golden or silvery hue can indicate a wrong metal strike. Next, weigh the coin. A standard copper 1978 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. If it's significantly lighter, around 2.5 grams, you might be holding a transitional error. Then, look closely at the lettering around "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." On the rare specimens, a faint doubling can often be seen under magnification, especially around the B in "Liberty" and the 9 and 8 in the date. These are the subtle signs that can separate a penny worth 1 cent from one worth over $1 million. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln cents often call the 1978 no mint mark era coin a ghost coin, because it appears so ordinary that most people never see it for what it really is. It's the ultimate reminder that true value often hides in plain sight. Imagine holding a coin that's passed through decades of everyday life, a grocery store, a diner, a child's piggy bank, only to discover it's one of the rarest treasures ever minted. That's what happened to a few lucky finders of this mysterious 1978 penny. Their stories became the kind of legends that inspire every coin collector to keep looking. And that's the beauty of this hobby. It's not just about history or metal. It's about discovery. It's about the thrill of finding something no one else has noticed for nearly half a century. A tiny detail, a forgotten coin, and suddenly, your life changes forever. So before you spend that old penny in your change jar, take a second look. Check the date. Feel its weight. Listen to the ring when it drops on a hard surface. Because one of those ordinary brown coins could actually be the 1978 no mint mark Lincoln penny worth $1.2 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were speechless. And everyday people started checking their coins again, hoping lightning might strike twice. That's the magic of the 1978 penny. The idea that a piece of history can be hiding in your hand right now, waiting for you to discover it. It was a 2004 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark. At first glance, it looked ordinary, like the countless billions of pennies minted that year. But this small copper coin, carried a secret that would soon shock the entire coin world. In 2004, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln Memorial pennies across its 3 main facilities, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint added its unique mark, a PD or S, but a few mysterious pennies slipped through without any mint mark at all. To most people, they were just spare change. But to collectors who understand how minting errors happen, a no mint mark penny from that year raised an eyebrow. Something wasn't right. You see, by 2004, nearly all coins from the Philadelphia Mint had clear, bold mint marks. A missing mark usually meant one thing: a striking error, a die mishap, or a rare transitional planchet that somehow escaped the mint's rigorous quality checks. These mistakes are almost never supposed to happen. But when they do, they create some of the most valuable coins on Earth. And one of those 2004 pennies, missing its mint mark, would become one of the most talked about discoveries in modern numismatic history. The story began when a young coin enthusiast from Ohio emptied his pocket after buying coffee. Among the change, he noticed something odd. One penny had a brighter, richer tone than the others, almost as if it hadn't aged. Then he saw it. No D, no S, no P under the date. Just the year 2004, plain and clean. He thought it was just a minor oddity. But curiosity got the best of him. He posted a photo online, asking other collectors for opinions. Within hours, replies poured in. Some said it was nothing, others insisted it could be a major error. But one experienced dealer messaged him privately and said, "Do not spend that penny. Get it authenticated immediately." And what happened next stunned everyone. After careful examination, experts confirmed it was a genuine 2004 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin struck from an unfinished die that was never supposed to leave the Philadelphia Mint. The detail was perfect, the strike was clean, and the lack of a mint mark made it one of the rarest modern pennies ever recorded. When it went to auction, the room went silent. Bids started modestly, but within minutes they climbed higher and higher: $10,000, $50,000, $100,000. Then, the unbelievable happened. A private collector placed a final bid for $1.3 million. The audience gasped. Collectors whispered in disbelief. A simple penny, one that could have been lost in a couch cushion, had just become a $1 million legend. It wasn't just the missing mint mark. Experts noticed something even rarer. The coin's surface had an unusual luster, a result of being struck on a transitional copper planchet, possibly left over from earlier years. Instead of the typical zinc-coated composition, it contained nearly pure copper. That combination, no mint mark and copper composition, created the perfect storm of rarity. Fewer than 5 examples are believed to exist today, and yet that's not the only twist in this story. Soon after the first sale, rumors spread that more no-mint mark 2004 pennies were circulating quietly across the country, found in old coin rolls, forgotten piggy banks, and dusty dresser drawers. Dealers began scouring every batch of 2004 pennies they could find. The U.S. Mint received countless calls from the public asking, "Could my penny be the $1 million one?" The frenzy grew. Coin forums exploded with new discoveries, people sharing photos, videos, and stories of nearly identical pennies. But most turned out to be regular Philadelphia strikes, their mint marks faint or worn from circulation. Only a true expert could tell the difference between a common coin and one worth a fortune. And here's where the story gets even more intriguing. Some of these rare 2004 no-mint mark pennies have slight doubling on the date, or lettering, a result of die shifting during the minting process. Those tiny imperfections make them even more valuable. A coin with both the missing mint mark and visible doubling could push its value far beyond the $1 million mark. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were desperate to get their hands on one. And treasure hunters across the country started emptying their coin jars, hoping to find their own hidden gem. But before you rush to check your change, here's what you need to look for. Start by examining the year, 2004. Then, look directly below the date on the front, or obverse side, of the coin. You should normally see a small letter, a D for Denver or sometimes a faint P for Philadelphia. If there's no mint mark at all, not even a trace, your heart should start racing. Under magnification, check for sharp detail and consistent color tone. If it's made of copper rather than zinc, the coin will weigh slightly more, about 3.11 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams. That's your biggest clue. If your penny meets these conditions, don't clean it, don't polish it, and definitely don't try to alter it. Place it in a soft holder and get it authenticated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. A genuine 2004 no-mint mark penny with these characteristics could make you an instant millionaire. Think about that for a moment. A penny, a single cent, could change your life forever. It's stories like this that keep coin collectors awake at night. Because for every famous discovery, there are still hundreds of rare coins waiting quietly in circulation, hiding in plain sight. The 2004 no-mint mark penny reminds us that the most ordinary-looking objects can hold extraordinary secrets. So next time you get change back from the store, look closer. That little copper coin might just be the next $1 million discovery. Collectors still whisper about it. Dealers still hunt for it. And who knows, maybe the next person to uncover one of these elusive coins will be you. But when one collector looked closer, he realized what he was holding could be worth up to $1.4 million. It wasn't gold, silver, or ancient treasure. It was a 2017 D Lincoln penny. Ordinary to the eye, extraordinary to the trained collector. What makes this coin so shocking is that it came from one of the most common years in modern minting history. Billions of pennies were struck in 2017. And yet buried among them is a mystery so rare that only a handful of people have ever seen it with their own eyes. It started in Denver, at the U.S. Mint, where the D Mint mark represents the city's signature. During production, an unexpected mechanical error created a coin that should never have existed. A misaligned die, a faint double strike, or an off-center impression, something tiny but powerful, turned a normal penny into a $1 million legend. The first discovery came quietly. A coin dealer in Colorado opened a roll of uncirculated pennies and noticed something strange. Lincoln's bust looked slightly doubled, almost like a ghost image. The lettering around the words, "In God We Trust," appeared blurred and thick. He thought it was a trick of light, until he saw the mint mark. That tiny D looked distorted, as if stamped twice. He took it under a magnifying glass, and his heart stopped. This wasn't just any coin. It was a 2017 D double die obverse, a near-perfect minting error that shouldn't exist in the modern era of high-precision machinery. Word spread fast through the coin community. Collectors were shocked. Dealers began checking every single 2017 penny they came across. Videos, photos, and coin forums lit up with questions: was this real? How many existed? And if one could be found in circulation, how many more were still out there, sitting unnoticed in someone's pocket change? But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At an auction, a pristine example of the 2017 D-era penny, still gleaming with its original red luster, sold for a jaw-dropping price. The bidding started modestly, but when experts confirmed its authenticity, the numbers climbed fast. 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, and then, almost unbelievably, over $1 million. Collectors couldn't believe it. How could a coin minted less than a decade ago command a price like that? The answer was in the details, those subtle imperfections that only the keenest eyes could see. The doubling on Lincoln's profile, the faint shift in the mint mark, and the flawless preservation of its copper coating made it a 1 in a billion survivor of a minting mishap. This discovery reignited the modern treasure hunt. Everyday Americans started checking their jars, their glove compartments, their couch cushions. People who never cared about coins before suddenly found themselves staring at their pennies under magnifiers, hoping to spot the tiniest clue that might change their lives. And then came another surprise. A collector in Texas found a second variation, this time with a die clash visible just above the date, 2017. The image of Lincoln's vest appeared faintly mirrored on the reverse side, creating an eerie reflection. Experts confirmed it was a legitimate die clash error, proof that multiple rare dies may have been used that year. The rumor spread, the 2017 D Mint run might contain more than one valuable error, each worth thousands, or even millions, depending on condition and rarity. But there was something even stranger. Some coins showed an unusual copper tone, darker, almost reddish-black, suggesting a possible improper alloy mix. Metallurgists examined them and speculated that a few planchets meant for another denomination might have been mistakenly struck with the Lincoln cent dies. That kind of minting mix-up hasn't been seen since the famous 1943 copper penny, one of the most valuable coins in U.S. history. By this point, the 2017 D penny wasn't just a coin. It was a legend in motion, A living reminder that even in our age of digital perfection, miracles of metal still happen. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on any example graded MS-68 or higher, knowing that each one could be a fortune waiting to be realized. But here's the most important part: how to spot it. Because if you're watching this, the next $1 million penny could be sitting in your home right now. First, look at the mint mark. You should see a bold D under the date 2017. Use a magnifying glass and check for doubling, an extra outline, a shadow, or a slightly distorted shape. Then, study Lincoln's eye, his jawline, and the letters. "In God We Trust." If any of those look thicker or doubled, you may be holding a doubled die obverse. Flip the coin. On the reverse, examine the Lincoln Memorial. If you see faint impressions of Lincoln's profile or letters bleeding through, it might be a die clash. Check for unusual copper coloration or off-center strikes. Anything that looks out of the ordinary could mean value beyond imagination. Condition is everything. A flawless coin with full red luster, graded mint state, by experts, can transform an ordinary penny into a $1 million miracle. Even slightly circulated versions can sell for thousands. So before you spend your next penny, take a moment to look closer. Because one small detail, one hidden error, could be worth more than a lifetime of pocket change. Collectors around the world are still hunting for the remaining 2017 D mint mark Lincoln era pennies. Every month, new examples are being discovered in places no one expects: parking lots, vending machines, old piggy banks. And each discovery adds another chapter to one of the most thrilling coin stories of our time. This isn't just about money. It's about mystery, history, and the thrill of discovery. It's about knowing that sometimes the most valuable treasures aren't locked away in museums. They're right here in your hands. But when a sharp-eyed collector spotted something unusual, it turned out to be worth over $1.5 million. Yes, a simple 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, the kind most of us have handled thousands of times, has shocked the coin world and changed someone's life forever. It all started like any ordinary day. A man was sorting through old pennies, looking for wheat cents or anything unusual. But one coin caught his attention. It looked perfectly normal at first, until he noticed something strange about Lincoln's portrait and the fine details of the design. What he had in his hand was not just a regular cent, it was one of the rarest modern errors ever discovered. Collectors were stunned when word got out. The 1988 no-mint mark penny, usually struck in Philadelphia, hides one of the most fascinating mysteries in U.S. coinage history. Most of these coins are common, worth just a cent. But a handful, and we mean only a handful, were struck using the wrong die, one that was meant for a completely different year. You see, in 1988, the U.S. Mint was preparing for design changes. But somehow, a few coins were accidentally struck with a die that had the reverse design from 1989. To the untrained eye, they look identical. But experts quickly noticed one key difference: the tiny letters FG on the reverse of the coin, near the Lincoln Memorial dot on the 1988 no-mint mark penny. The FG initials belong to an entirely different design, used only in 1989. That means this coin bridges two minting years, a mistake so small yet so important that it created one of the most valuable modern pennies in existence. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these rare transitional pennies was sent to auction, where collectors competed furiously to own a piece of minting history. The final hammer price? Over $1.5 million for a single 1988 penny that once sat unnoticed in a jar. Dealers across the country began searching through boxes of old pennies, hoping lightning might strike twice. And as more people learned about this incredible discovery, the hunt intensified. Coin forums exploded with stories of collectors finding near misses, pennies that looked close, but weren't quite the real deal. Because this error is so subtle, thousands of people have probably looked right at one without realizing what they were holding. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. The 1988 no-mint mark penny with the wrong reverse isn't a flashy mistake. It's not double-struck or missing a date. Its power lies in what it represents: a moment when human oversight and machine precision collided. A tiny oversight at the mint created a miracle worth more than $1 million. Experts say that only a few examples have ever been confirmed. Each one discovered since has set off waves of excitement. The condition, of course, matters. Coins graded in pristine condition, known as mint state or MS, bring the biggest rewards. One MS-67 example sold for hundreds of thousands, and as the rarity became better known, its value skyrocketed. But what makes this story so powerful isn't just the money. It's the idea that a single penny, overlooked by millions of people, can become a symbol of luck, patience, and discovery. Imagine pulling one from your change, brushing off the dust, and realizing you're holding $1 million mistake. That's the dream that keeps collectors searching every single day. Now, here's what you need to look for. First, the coin must be a 1988 Lincoln cent with no mint mark, meaning it was struck in Philadelphia. Flip it over, and focus on the base of the Lincoln Memorial, right next to it. You'll see the designer's initials. FG. On the regular 1988 penny, those letters have a smooth, wide shape. But on the rare transitional variety, they're sharper, with a distinct angle to the G. That's the telltale sign you found the wrong reverse. The 1989 reverse on a 1988 coin. Be careful, though. Many counterfeits and machine-damaged coins try to mimic the look, but only genuine examples have that crisp, sharp FG and the distinct spacing between the letters. The reverse details will look slightly more modern than typical 1988 cents, subtle, but unmistakable to a trained eye. Collectors recommend checking rolls of pennies from banks, old change jars, and coin collections that haven't been touched in years. Because if one of these rare 1988 no-mint mark transitional pennies is still out there, it could be worth a fortune waiting to be found. You open a forgotten box of coins, see a dull old penny, and out of curiosity, take a closer look. You flip it under the light, and there it is, the sharp FG, the wrong reverse, the coin that only a few people on Earth have ever seen. Suddenly, that penny you almost spent becomes your ticket to $1 million miracle. Coin experts agree, this coin's value will only rise as more collectors chase it. Every year, fewer examples surface, and those that do are snapped up instantly. The story of the 1988 no-mint mark penny is a reminder that treasure doesn't always glitter in gold or silver. Sometimes, it's copper-colored, hiding quietly in your pocket change. So tonight, before you toss your spare change into a drawer, take one last look. Because that ordinary 1988 penny sitting among the nickels and dimes might not be ordinary at all. It might be one of the rarest modern errors ever made, and it could be worth over $1 million. But when one man decided to take a closer look, he discovered something that would change his life forever. That tiny, unassuming 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln penny turned out to be worth a staggering $1.6 million. And what made it so valuable wasn't luck, it was a hidden error, one that almost no one noticed for decades. The story begins in 1994, a year when billions of pennies were produced at the Philadelphia Mint. Most were flawless, mass-produced coins made for everyday use. But somewhere deep within those minting machines, something went wrong. A handful of coins were struck using a special die that created an anomaly so rare, it would later shock the entire coin world. Collectors didn't know it existed, until one curious man spotted something unusual in his pocket change. He noticed Lincoln's portrait looked slightly different, sharper, more defined, as if it had been struck with more force than usual. And then, the clue that stopped him cold, there was no mint mark under the date. At first, he thought it was normal. After all, Philadelphia pennies often have no mint mark. But when experts examined it, they realized this coin wasn't just another cent, it was a minting marvel, a once-in-a-lifetime mistake that somehow survived quality control. When it hit the auction block, the bids went wild. Collectors from across the country couldn't believe what they were seeing. This ordinary 1994 penny, the kind millions of people handled daily, was climbing past 6 figures in value. And when the final hammer dropped, the room erupted. It sold for nearly $1.5 million. But the story didn't end there. But what happened next stunned the entire coin community. Experts began uncovering subtle variations between different 1994 pennies. Some had doubled lettering on Liberty, or In God We Trust. Others showed faint doubling on Lincoln's eye, a telltale sign of a rare doubled die error. These tiny imperfections, invisible to the casual eye, could mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth a fortune. Dealers started scouring their collections, searching through old jars, bank rolls, and forgotten boxes of change. Stories emerged of people finding rare 1994 pennies tucked away in coffee cans or dresser drawers. One coin shop owner recalled a customer who brought in a handful of change, just to test his luck, and walked out with a small fortune. This was no longer just a collector's dream. It was a modern-day treasure hunt. The secret lies in its combination of rarity, condition, and minting error. In some cases, these pennies were struck on bronze planchets, leftover blanks from decades earlier, instead of the zinc-coated steel used in the 1990s. That composition error alone made them extraordinary. And when paired with a strong double die strike, it created a coin unlike any other in circulation. The experts say fewer than a handful are known to exist, but there's something even more fascinating. Many of these million-dollar pennies went unnoticed because they looked so ordinary. The edges were clean, the surfaces slightly worn, just like any coin you might get as change at the grocery store. One collector famously said, "The real treasure isn't buried in the ground, it's hiding in plain sight, right in your pocket." And he was right. But here's where it gets even more thrilling. The next discovery hasn't happened yet. Somewhere out there, another 1994 no-mint mark penny with the same mysterious traits could still be waiting to be found. Maybe it's sitting in a forgotten jar, resting between nickels and quarters, waiting for someone who knows what to look for. Start by checking the date. It must read 1994, with no mint mark below it. Next, look closely at the word Liberty and In God We Trust. If you see any doubling, letters that appear slightly shadowed or thicker, that's a major clue. Then examine Lincoln's face, especially his eye and jawline. Doubling there could mean you're holding one of the rarest pennies ever struck. Finally, pay attention to the coin's weight. A genuine copper planchet penny will weigh around 3.11 grams, while normal zinc ones weigh about 2.5 grams. That small difference could be worth $1 million payday. Collectors are still buzzing about this coin. Dealers at major conventions keep watch for any new examples. Auction houses quietly prepare for the next record-breaking sale. Because each time a coin like this surfaces, it rewrites history, and proves that hidden fortune can still be found in the most unexpected places. The next time you dump out your change, you might be holding one of the rarest coins ever made, a coin that could turn your ordinary day into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. The 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln penny has already changed lives, and it could change yours too. But when one collector took a closer look, his heart nearly stopped. That ordinary-looking 1978 penny, with no mint mark at all, turned out to be worth up to $1.7 million. Yes, a single copper coin that could change your life overnight. At first glance, it looks like every other penny you've ever seen. Lincoln's familiar face. The words, "In God We Trust." The year 1978 beneath his portrait. Nothing special, right? But hidden within some of these no-mint mark 1978 Lincoln pennies lies a shocking secret. A minting mystery that's baffled experts for decades. It all began during a turbulent time at the U.S. Mint. In the late 1970s, machines were aging, quality control was slipping, and the transition to more modern minting technology was causing countless microscopic errors. Most were harmless. But every once in a while, one slipped through that would rewrite coin history. One such coin, a 1978 Lincoln penny struck in Philadelphia without a mint mark, somehow carried a unique blend of metal composition and die error that made it unlike any other. When discovered, experts were stunned. Under magnification, subtle doubling appeared in Lincoln's profile and lettering, suggesting a rare die clash. Even more shocking, the penny's weight didn't match standard copper specifications, indicating it may have been struck on a leftover planchet from a previous year. It wasn't until decades later, when a rare example surfaced at a private auction, that the world realized what they were dealing with. The coin sold for nearly $1 million, and rumors began spreading that even rare examples might still be out there. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Another collector from Illinois claimed he found a 1978 penny in his grandfather's change jar, no mint mark, slightly heavier than normal, with a brilliant, reddish tone. When authenticated, the penny matched the rare composition error. Its value skyrocketed. Experts estimated it could bring up to $1.7 million if sold today. Or could there be more of these 1978 no-mint mark errors hiding in plain sight, mixed in with the millions of ordinary pennies still circulating? The truth is, the 1978 penny was part of a transitional period between the classic 95% copper coins and later experimental planchets. A few slipped through the minting presses with incorrect alloys, die misalignments, or light doubling, features that today make them some of the most sought-after Lincoln cents in the world. These coins are ghosts of the minting process. They were never meant to exist. And that's exactly why they're worth so much. The mystery of how they survived adds to their legend. But the real shock came when another 1978 no-mint mark penny graded at a near-perfect MS-68 appeared on the market. Collectors went wild. Bidding wars erupted online. The final hammer price? Just shy of $1.5 million. That single penny, small enough to fit between your fingers, became a national sensation among coin enthusiasts. And here's the most incredible part: thousands of Americans may have one of these hidden treasures sitting in a jar, a drawer, or a box of forgotten change. You might have handled one and never known it. Start by checking for the absence of a mint mark under the ear. That means it was struck in Philadelphia. Next, use a precise digital scale. A genuine 1978 copper penny should weigh about 3.11 grams, but some rare error planchets weigh slightly more or less due to the wrong metal mix. That difference is worth a fortune. Look closely under a magnifying glass. Examine Lincoln's jawline, nose, and the word Liberty. If you notice slight doubling, where the letters or features seem to have a faint echo, you may be holding a double die strike, one of the most valuable minting errors in existence. And pay attention to color. True high-value specimens often have a stunning reddish-brown luster or a deep proof-like shine, showing minimal wear. Condition is everything. Pristine examples can multiply in value overnight. Some of these 1978 pennies were struck using older 1977 dies, giving them microscopic anomalies only visible under magnification. If you ever find one that looks just a little off, don't dismiss it. That imperfection could mean a payday in the millions. Every week, collectors are uncovering new varieties. Online auctions, estate sales, even pocket change hunts have revealed coins once thought impossible. Each new discovery reignites the fire in the coin community, reminding everyone that history can literally sit in the palm of your hand, and the story isn't over. Experts believe several unreported examples are still out there, hidden away in collections or coin jars, waiting for someone, maybe you, to recognize what they're truly worth. Imagine finding one. You're rolling pennies for the bank, and suddenly you spot a gleam, a slightly different texture, a tiny flaw that feels out of place. You weigh it, research it, and realize it's the one. The rare 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln penny that could fetch up to $1.7 million. Your life changes in an instant. Collectors call it the copper miracle, and for good reason. It's a reminder that sometimes, the smallest treasures carry the biggest rewards. So before you spend your spare change, take one last look. Because that ordinary penny you've overlooked 100 times might not be ordinary at all. It might be history. It might be fortune.